Hey everyone. So I am here with Scale Lab. They're a layer 2 on Ethereum scalability project. I have the director and VP of engineering with me, and they are going to walk you through how to spin up a validator on Scale. And I am going to hand.
All right, absolutely. So thanks for the introduction. As she mentioned, Ebru and I are both from Skale Labs, and we work in solution engineering. I primarily work with the dApp side, and she primarily works with onboarding validators. Today, what we're going to do is walk you through a brief intro of what it looks like getting set up with Scale. And then we're going to go through an interactive demo of setting up a node. So feel free to follow along. There's going to be something for everyone. So whether you're a student, an ETH developer, or already validating for another network, you will be able to get something out of this presentation, hopefully. So what I'm going to do right now is share my screen. Perfect. All right. So before we jump right in, I want to level set and make sure that we set the agenda. So for about 5 minutes, I'm going to walk you through what is Scale. And then we're going to talk about validator expectations, staking expectations, and then Ebru is going to take it over with an interactive demo. And then we're going to finalize it with Q&A. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my video. And let's get started. So for the intro, the first thing I want to talk about is what is Scale? Well, what we're not is an Ethereum killer. We want to make sure that we're empowering developers that spent so much time developing dApps on Ethereum to be able to run those applications in a faster and more cost-effective way. But just like Ethereum, we have nodes within our network as well. But for dApps, what they're able to do is take a subset of these nodes and create what we call a Scale chain. Now, that Scale chain is going to allow them to run smart contracts, allow them to do file storage, allow them to have interchain messaging, all within their sidechain solution. Now, but this is a validator conference, so let's get into what it looks like within a node. So within the node, this is what you have. At the very center, we have 3 things going on: validator orchestration, node auditing, and Scale admin. To start from the top, validator orchestration is what we use on the dApp side to be able to group together nodes to create that Scale chain. So one node that you spin up can support one or many different dApps. The second part of that is going to be node auditing. Each node is going to monitor 21 other nodes within the network. Now, what that gives you is a report card, sort of say, that will determine the rewards you're going to get at the end of that cycle. So let's say that you don't meet the right latency or the other requirements, you may not be able to participate in the node staking for that specific period. However, you are able to continue on if you meet those qualifications for the next cycle. The last part is going to be Scale admin. Now, this is the part that's really running to make the dApps successful. The Scale admin allows dApps to run their smart contracts in EVM, allows them to use file storage, and allows them to use interchain messaging for managing tokens such as ERC20, ERC721, and even DAI. But within the node, as I mentioned before, you're able to run one or many different Scale chains. So let's say that that node is selected for running one. Well, on the left-hand side here, what you'll see is that you are only going to be dedicated to one dApp. You won't know what that dApp is, and you also don't know how long you're going to be on that application, because part of the Scale protocol is that we randomize the node setup for each Scale chain, which means that at any given time, you may be swapped out for another node, and you may start to run multiple Scale chains on your node here, as you see in the middle. Now, let's say that you're new to the network or you just weren't selected by the randomization feature, you may be underutilized, but that doesn't mean that you don't participate in the staking. Instead, you're still going to participate in all of the node auditing. You're still going to monitor other nodes, and you're going to be monitored as well. So even though your node is empty as far as running different dApps, you still want to make sure that you're meeting the right requirements in order to take part of the rewards. What's really interesting about our protocol is that it is leaderless. What that means is that each node needs to operate independently and at the same expectations as all other nodes within the network. So Even if you're not performing and you're underutilized, it does mean that you will not be able to participate in those in that staking for that session. But once you do start to meet the latency and so forth, you will participate in the rewards, which is a good segue. So validator expectations. Let's talk about what that looks like. Before that, just want to check to make sure, are we getting any questions? All right, great. Mm-hmm. Then in that case, let's move on. So validator expectations. What Ebru is doing on the validator side right now is working with 16 validators currently working on helping us finalize requirements. So what they've done is grouped it into 4 buckets. The first step is setting up a new node, which Ebru will walk through in her interactive demo. The second step, which she will also walk through, is downloading the node CLI. This node CLI gives you everything you need to be able to spin up a node and run it within the network. The third step and fourth step, the third one is going to be initializing the node, and the fourth step is going to be registering that node within the network, saying that you are live and ready to start servicing dApps. Now, on the right here, what you'll see is very similar to what we just talked about before, where you're still going to be running that Skale admin, the orchestration and monitoring within your node. This gets downloaded automatically with the CLI. Everything you need is there. But what's interesting about Skale is that the Skale manager piece, that is run on Ethereum. So you can kind of look at Skale as being a dApp that's running based off of Ethereum that's servicing a platform to dApp developers. And Ebru will explain more about that very soon. The next thing we want to talk about are hardware requirements. And Ebru, what she'll do is she'll paste the link to these hardware requirements into the Q&A. So that way you can see what that looks like.
It's already.
Oh, perfect. So it looks like it's already there. If you follow that link, you'll get more information about the hardware requirements and what is entailed to be able to set up your own Skale node within our system. So we won't hover too much on this because we want to get to the fun parts of actually setting up a node. So what I'll do is continue on. The third part that we want to talk about is staking expectations. Now, this is where it gets exciting. So for each node within the network, because we are a proof of stake protocol, you'll need to stake anywhere between 80 and 100K USD equivalent of Skale tokens. Now, don't be discouraged by this number. That doesn't mean you have to stake 100K on your own. Instead, what we're trying to do is set up a system where you only have to stake a small percentage and you're able to get delegated to by other investors or believers within the network. All of that process will be done using a UI that you'll be able to link into to be able to get that delegation to meet these requirements. Once you're able to meet these requirements, you're then able to go forth and create your own node. But let's explain more about that. So that way you can kind of see what's going on. Let's bring all these pieces together for what a dApp sees and what a validator sees when interacting with the network. So let's start with the dApp side. On the demand side, whether you're a gaming dApp, a DeFi dApp, or a music dApp, what you have to do is take a small percentage into the network on Ethereum to be able to create a Skale chain to be able to run your smart contracts or use file storage or any of our other advanced features as well. Once you stake, you're able to spin up your Skale chain for a gaming dApp, DeFi dApp, or music dApp. What comes next is that the validators will then stake their part into the Ethereum mainnet as well. Now, for the first few years, there is going to be a bit of inflation going on. That inflation means that we're going to also donate from the Skale Foundation into what we call the bounty pool. The fees come in from the dApp developers as well to add to that bounty pool. And then what you see is over time, this bounty pool is going to grow and be divided evenly among the validators that met those qualifications for running a successful node. So if we keep going, the part that we talked about where each node is auditing each other one, that part determines whether or not you met the qualifications. Mainly, we're going to be focusing on latency here in the beginning. If you're a positive node, and you met the qualifications, you will participate in that bounty for that period and get the rewards. If you were not, if you did not have the right latency, you don't participate in the rewards at that time, but then you enter into the next cycle. All right, so now we're at the fun parts. So now that you understand a little bit more about how Skale is set up, let's get into the technical bits and see what it looks like setting up a node. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and give Ebru a chance to share hers.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Christine. Hi, everyone. This is Ebru Engwall, and I'm just going to show you how to set up a new node on the Skale network. And to make it easy for you guys, we created this different page under Skale.network docs, validators, validator CLI workshop. And if you go there, you're going to see every single hardware requirements. And what I'm going to do right now is to go one by one, each step that Christine has been mentioning. And then at the end, we are going to have our registered node in the Skale network. So I want to mention that, like, I'm leading the validator program, and right now it's in testnet. We have been working with validators. Incentivized testnet is coming soon, but currently we are in the beta version. So what I'm going to show you is the beta version. So if you just see here, it's the 0.80 beta 1, and we are going to download the binary from here. And then, as you can see in the beta, there's a folder. And this is going to be different once we have the stable version. I just want to point out that. And then let's go ahead. If you already have, I'm going to work on the DigitalOcean. And here is my IP address. I created a node, have an attached storage. I added it to the DigitalOcean. I have my IP address. I upload my SSH public key. And then now I'm just like connecting here. And the first step is going to be downloading the binary. I'm just going to copy paste and then explain it to you later on what each step does. Let's go ahead and download the binary first. And as you can see, it's the 17 and it's downloaded. Now I have to make it executable. And I'm going to be lazy and copy pasting. Sorry about that. And I'm just going to make this one executable. What that means is Skale --help. If I see it, these are the commands for Skale. And you can see that if I just click on Skale info or version, let's do the version. You can see the version that I downloaded. That means that you have the right version, you have the latest version, at least the beta one. Once it's we don't push the latest version, you're gonna have the latest, the stable one. Now let's go ahead, check the second step. Let's go ahead and do it one by one. The next step is a little bit complicated. And when you set it up, it's gonna take 5 minutes. So what I wanna do right now, I'm going to skip the information because I have a better information. So I will just go ahead, do the commands and copy paste part, and then we can just move on to the explanation. I hope it sounds good. So now what we need to do is we need to check where our attached storage is, sorry. To be able to do that, it is fdisk minus L. As you can see, the top part is the volume and both. And then the second part is the attached storage that you can see. This is for DigitalOcean, which is dev slash SDA. But if it's AWS, it's definitely different volume. So to be able to do that, you can see where your attached storage is by running this command. So don't forget about the dev SDA. Let's go ahead and check the next step, which is the configuration that I need. I want to create, so these are, I'm going to explain it in a second. I'm going to copy this entire variables, and I'm going to create a config file. I'm going to enter this all information that I will explain. You can either put this to bash profile, environment variables, or we have the option to create a file. Let's go ahead, save this file. We already have it. Let's see. Oh, yeah, have it. Let's go ahead and see what the next step is. I'm going to get this Scale node in it. And this is basically a wrapper around Docker containers. And it basically starts everything about Scale, and it starts all the Scale services. I'm going to set up the node. I hope you guys are following. So what does it do, and what did I do so far? And what are these configurations that we need? Let me go ahead and start my presentation. I hope everybody is seeing. Yep. Perfect. All right, so it's actually, as I mentioned, this is the basically, actually, sorry about this. I think I am in the wrong slide. There you go. Play from the current slide. Can you see that? Perfect. And so the configuration I want to mention first. So the first flag that we use is a disk mount point, and which is the dev SDA. Why do we need this attached storage? Because we want to allocate enough resources for each Scale chain. So what this does, this mount point does, if you go to our documentation, it will explain everything, which is we have local volume manager that splits all these storage into Scale chains. So that's why it resets everything in this provided extra volume. The second variable you can see, the flag you see here, is SGX, which is Intel technology that we use to store BLS signatures. So as I mentioned in the hardware requirements, you probably saw an SGX compatible server. You have two options here. One is having an SGX compatible server and set up your node, or the other option is have a separate SGX URL, which I already provided to you. But if you want to set up your own, please go ahead and GitHub, and there is a SGX wallet. It's basically Docker Compose YAML that you can spin up your node. And once you have that information, which we are giving it to you today, already a URL, and then with the environment file I created, it's not required. You can put it under profile, and that's basically it. So what's in this environment file? Let's check what you actually validators need to care about. The only thing you need to care about is this SGX server URL and this point, which I already explained. The rest is, I will explain what it is, but you don't have to worry about it. It will be provided by Scale. The one of the URL is actually, the first one is the interchain messaging agent. These are the contract ABI that actually Christine can just give a little bit more information around it. And this is the contract ABI for our dApp developer feature. And the second one is the manager contracts info, which is the Scale manager that Christine was mentioning in the presentation. Scale manager lives in the mainnet. So this is based on contracts ABI. AMA endpoint and endpoint, basically, these are where these frameworks deployed in our testnet.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Ebru. So I do want to back up there, because while it does look like there's a lot of configurations going on here, please keep in mind that it's because we offer a lot of features for our dApps that will be using the nodes that you're spinning up. So for the IMA piece that she mentioned, that is specifically for the interchain messaging feature that we alluded to earlier. And that came about because what we found is that a lot of dApps want to be able to manage their tokens, but decrease the cost of managing those on Ethereum. So we empower developers to still create ERC20 and ERC721 tokens for their games, their social impact apps, their real estate apps. And all of this is facilitated by the nodes that you'll be setting up. So these are required requirements, but for we want to make sure that we're empowering dApps.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Christine. I couldn't explain it better. All right, so the last part is MySQL. Everybody knows MySQL. It's a simple database. We have MySQL in Validators. I will just explain it in my next slide, what this MySQL is used for, but these are very simple: port, password, and user. Like, it couldn't get any better than that. So these are the configurations. And the last part is I want to mention that primitives will be retired with the stable version. So as I pasted in the config file, there were like a lot of configurations that please don't worry about these. we are just currently, as I mentioned, under heavy development, and some of these variables are used to measure Scale health. We are also checking if there's any memory leak with the Elasticsearch, getting the logs and checking everything. Docker password, username, these are all going to be retired, so you don't have to worry about those. So let's talk about my first slide that I started wrong. These are the Docker containers that actually are setting up right now with the current execution. And one of the first of all, like Scale admin is the most important one. It manages all operations in the Scale node. It's one of the Docker container, and then it also communicates with the Scale manager, where Scale manager lives in the mainnet, as Christine mentioned. And whenever you register a node, it will go through the Scale admin. So think about it as the administrator of everything. Second container you're going to see is the SLA agent. As Christine mentioned, there's your node, it will be monitoring 24 other nodes, and 24 other nodes randomly picked by Scale manager will be monitoring you. It's a Scale monitoring service. So once the SLA agent is going to hit every 5 minutes those 24 nodes, and then store this information if there's a downtime or latency in MySQL database every 5 minutes. Once this is done, like after each month, these information will be aggregated, and we'll send the median to Scale manager, which is mainnet. And then it's going to be basically 0 and 1. Either you hit the SLA or you did not. So the last piece is last piece, bounty agent, where you get your bounties. So there's no slashing for not performing nodes. And if you don't hit the SLA, you're just not going to participate in that month's bounties. What that means is there's still slashing for malicious behavior, but if you don't perform well, you're just not going to participate for that month. The last part is the transaction manager, microservice to increment nones. We will give more information around that. This is a newly added Docker container that we just added. So let's see if our execution is done. Okay, so as you see, all these containers are created. Let me move this a little bit on the side. What we can do is I can just run basically Docker PS. You can find all these Docker containers. And why do I see all these different ones that I did not mention? As I mentioned, these are file-based. These are for measuring health for the current testnet. These will be retired. You're not going to see it. Just focus on the containers that I just presented to, please. So afterwards, let's go ahead and check the next step. I got all the stuff, and now I'm very close to registering my node. To be able to do that, I need to register my user. So create user registration token. What this means is we are giving legacy Scale tokens. These are fake tokens so that you can basically go in and register your node in the testnet. It's fake ETH and fake Scale token. So this is already, okay. This is already in there. Let's go ahead and check user Scale token. Let me clear my side a little bit. Scale user token. So keep this in mind, and then I want to register my user. But first, I need to have tokens, right? So you can basically click right in Scale wallet info. Okay, sorry, not Scale wallet info. I don't have it yet because I need to register my user first. Scale user token, I got it. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to Scale help. Oh yeah, sorry. Scale user register. First, I need to register to be able to do that. All right, let's do create. Do you want to create a user first?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Let's go ahead and do that.
What do you want to use it?
Let's
Scale.
create Skale, dystopia, and the number 2.
Okay, I'll do that. And please go ahead and close your eyes. I'm going to write my password very quickly.
Yeah, don't steal her fake anything.
All right. I'm going to register my token. Sorry about that. Latency. I register my user. So now I can say Scale wallet info. Sorry, I missed that. So I don't have any balance, ETH balance and Scale balance. So what should I do?
I think we have a fix for that. You can go to the faucet.
Oh, I can go to the faucet. Oh, that's that simple.
And that should be in the documentation.
Perfect.
Right?
Yep, it should be in the documentation. It's like faucet, it sounds very French. Faucet.scale.network/validators. If you go there, I just copied the account that is showed in my terminal. So I edit this, and maybe I should refresh it very quickly. Let me refresh it very quick, and let me enter this. So this is a little bit slow. So let me.
There, that's just a moment. So we're going to wait for the balance to show to 0.
Perfect.
Once it shows to 0, you can click the tokens. And I'm going to explain why it's slow. So the reason why it's slow right now is because this is simulating what you would expect to see as if you were getting tokens on Ethereum. Now, if you remember from my presentation where I was talking about how it works, the Scale manager that helps with all the orchestration is deployed to Ethereum. So in essence, Scale is a dApp that's running on Ethereum that's a really advanced platform. Now, because of that, you are at the mercy of whatever the current finalization time is for transactions. So right now we have the ETH balance and we're transferring 3.5 tokens, but rest assured that's not what it's going to be on mainnet for your needs. That's just for the DevNet today as we're just quickly testing things out. When we move to Ethereum, you can expect it to be somewhere around 0.000 something. To be able to spin up your node. It's not meant to be a barrier for getting into the network. Just right now, you'll see the numbers a bit skewed. But we have our tokens. And so
perfect. Can I go back? Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So I have money. It's 100K. No, it's not. It is basically 10 Scale tokens. And now I can say Scale wallet info. Voila. I have everything I need. I have some ETH in my in balance and Scale balance as well. So what is left? Final round, final step. Let's go ahead and check the portal again. What is the final step that we need to do?
I think we need to register the node.
Yeah, so let's do register. What do we need to do to register is, can you see it right now? Perfect. Scale node register --name, just give it node name and current IP address. So let's go back. What is the one? Scale node register --name. What do you want to name it? Scale. Starts with Scale. What do you want to name it?
So we can do Scale -dystopia labs -2.
-2. All right. And IP address is 159. All right. I'm just going to give it. All right. We're going to register our node right now. It's going to
bear with us just a second.
Just a
while
second.
It's doing the registration.
All right. So right now it's registering the node. It takes a while because, as we mentioned before, whenever your node is registered, it goes through Scale admin to Scale manager, connects to there, and your node is registered in the mainnet. So it lives in the Ethereum, and then if you want to see the validator list, you're going to be able to see it. So what is the bonus step, Christine?
So the bonus step is let's check to see how everything's turning out. So we provide via the CLI ability to be able to check the node status. So let's go ahead and do that.
All right, Scale node info. Let's check if there's how our node is registered or not. Scale node info. And Scale Dystopia is registered with public IP, status active, everything is running. Let's say everything is done, basically. Dockers are up and everything is working. It's connected to SGX. We are done. All right.
So that's it. Essentially, if you follow the steps that's outlined on our documentation, just like Ebru did, you really are able to just copy and paste and spin up a node. As you can imagine, while we're on the DevNet, the credentials are pretty much provided for you today. In the future, we'll have to get you your own credentials to be able to plug and chug and then copy and paste as well. But we are trying to make this as frictionless as possible. So what you see today is going to be very similar to how you will onboard to the mainnet as well.
Just final thing that is I mentioned before, this is a very basic CLI. If of course you cannot go through all of this constantly for each node. So we also provide this node provisioning in the Scale network, which is Ansible, Terraform, and you can go ahead and just look at that one. This is the latest version, it's beta version, and we are developing. So we will just make it smoothest as possible for the next incentivized testnet.
Right. And as a reminder, we still are on our internal DevNet. We are planning to launch really soon, very close to the mid of this year. And so very excited. It's a very exciting time to join Skale and be a part of the network launch. And if you are interested in joining early, Ebru onboards all the validators today and would be able to help you walk you through all the additional requirements. So Ebru, she stopped her screen, so let me go ahead and share mine. All right, so we're going to pick up where she left off, but that's pretty much it. After the interactive setup, what we're left with is just Q&A. So let's go ahead and answer some of the questions that were in the channel. But before that, I do want to remind you that if you want to connect with us, feel free to reach out to us on scale.network or connect with us on Telegram, Twitter. All of these handles are exactly the same for Scale Network, Ebru, and myself. And again, there's just that last link for the documentation. I'm gonna go ahead and post all of this into the Q&A channel so you have easy access to it in case it's already too far down with all the questions. So let me go ahead and do that.
Perfect. And
there we go. So
let's feel free to reach out to us anytime for any questions. We are on Discord all the time as well. All right, I'm gonna just share the videos again. Hello.
Okay, so hopefully that was useful for everyone. Again, let's go back and answer some of those questions, and feel free to shoot us over any more. I answered as much as I could while we were presenting in between. So I'm going to pick on the questions where we did not get to address, mainly because we thought we should share it with the entire community as to why we made some of the decisions we did.
Yeah.
I noticed that there were quite a few questions around SGX and why we are choosing to use that. This was a decision that we did not take lightly. And when building out our architecture stack, it was one of the ones where it made sense for the type of protocol that we are looking to build currently with Scale. Now, yes, there is a vulnerability, as someone pointed out, with SGX, but that is something that our engineering team is working on. So from what I understand, there is a fix available that we will be applying, but part of the reason why we have the early access team for validators is so that they can help us with finding these issues and fixing these issues early on. We want to make sure that when we launch the mainnet, that it is as secure as possible. Now, that is a good point about being able to help out with another project that I saw here, BLS signature support. So that is exactly why we kind of rely on SGX to be able to help support that within our network. One of the things that our CTO, Stan Klodko, does is he does help out quite a bit on ETH research. So if you're on ETH research, you'll definitely see him from time to time pining in and offering his feedback and support, because one of the things that we want to do is make sure that the Scale network is an open source platform, meaning that is not just closed off to us. So all the work that we're doing around making SGS work with the Scale network, you'll have access to. You won't only just have access to it, but if you want bits and pieces, now it's already open source, so you can take from it and build on top of that as well. So what's really exciting about the platform is the open source piece.
Yep, fantastic. Yeah, I totally agree. The only thing I just saw here is about the SGX vulnerability. We already checked that one. I just want to mention that. It's there's an upgrade for it, and it's we will provide best practices around this, and we are aware of that attack, and the Intel already released an update for it. So once we just share that version, I think you should, I'm pretty sure that you will be fine. But we are aware of the attack 100%. And the 32 gig RAM, that seems really high. I understand it, but just don't forget that we are supporting not only that 5 containers, 128 small Docker containers. So based on the network requirements, network needs, we have those hardware requirements. And is there any other question that you see, Christine? That's so far I saw.
So there was another question around, let me scroll up, bear with us just a moment. Okay, so it sounds like there's a question around the 32 gigabyte RAMs.
I already answered that.
Okay, you answered that, perfect. No, I think that's it. Looks like Connor, thank you, Connor, is also helping us out from Scale Labs, answering questions as well. Looks like we got all of the questions answered. So we hope you really enjoyed that presentation. And if you have any more questions, definitely reach out to us here. But I'm going to post something else, because you can also reach out to us on the Scale Labs website. And if you're interested in becoming a validator early, instead of waiting for the mainnet, please reach out to us here. We have a form where we would love to hear from you. And if you fill out your information, it goes directly to Ebru, where she is able to give you more information about what we're currently working on in-house with validators. So that way, if you want to become a validator early on, you have that opportunity too, which also gives you more access to code as we're working on it, and more access to see what we're doing in-house. So.
We've been working with fantastic validators and in collaborative way. We ran the test nets. They're giving us feedback, so we're very grateful for that. And in the this following year, we will hopefully expand our community and just get more validators in the Scale network. Please just reach out to us for any questions through Telegram, through Twitter, through our email. Or Discord. Please join our Discord. You can find it through the Scale network, and we will be happy to help.
All right. Well, that's it from the Scale team.
Oh, we ended early.
Yeah, we ended early. Thanks for your time.
All right, guys. So if you have any last questions, please do ask them here. Otherwise, feel free to just drop into their Discord and engage further. Our next panel will be Cello, so do hang around. It'll be pretty good, and they're also doing an incentivized testnet as well. So thank you guys so much for your time. It was a really great workshop, and you are the most prepared team at this conference, sincerely. So thank you.
Thank you we're very excited to be here, really, and thank you for organizing this. This is fantastic.
Yeah, of course. It's all on you guys. I just gathered people. You guys are the smart people. All right. Okay, well, I'll let you get going. Thank you, and have a happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Happy Super Bowl.
Yep. Bye.